We do love Levi.
Woo, Levi!
Okay.
Hi guys, my name is Levi Pickett. I've been working in the education field for a little under a year now. It's given me a really good opportunity to get to know teachers, get to know how they work, see their everyday duties, and I've got to say, sometimes it's not so glamorous. Teachers, they deal with unstable children, parents that will never understand, countless hours of grading, and minimal pay. A lot of other professions have a nice, calm, and relaxed atmosphere. Trust me, teaching is not one of them, and we're about to learn a little bit more about that. Okay, so I wanted to start off with the beginning of the workday for a teacher. At first, they have to ensure that their lesson plans are ready. They normally lesson plan for weeks at a time. Maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, get all of that in. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice. They have to make sure that their lesson plans are gonna last a whole day long, make sure that all the material's in there, and make sure that the kids are actually learning what they're supposed to be learning. Trial and error, this is the most common thing as a teacher. You're gonna try, you're gonna fail. They have to go in at the beginning of the day. Their lesson plan may not last the whole day. It may last 20 minutes, and they gotta improv all the way to the end. And all that means is the next period that comes, they gotta start over and they gotta try again, and that's okay. But that's not easy. It's not easy to figure out what you wanna do, make sure that these kids are getting educated. They have to start off these students' minds to make sure they're prepared for the learning day. Okay, kids are coming in, they're groggy, they're tired, they don't really want to learn. They're here because they have to be. And it's our job as educators to ensure that they're here and that they're learning and they're having a good time learning. We want to make sure that their focus is on us and that they continue to have a learning set of mind for the rest of the day so that they can get everything that they need to get out of our presentations. Okay? So some difficulties that a lot of teachers have to go through. The amount of kids that they have in a classroom. Sometimes it can get way out of hand. Sometimes it's a little bit ridiculous. Here in Texas, in a public school, of course, depending on the size of the school, can average about 30 kids. 30 kids for one teacher. So think about if 30 kids are out there whispering, talking in a regular voice, that teacher's not gonna get anything done. That teacher has to figure out how to calm their class, and how to grasp their attention so that each and every one of them can become learners and can gain education, okay? So 60 to 100 kids a day. If you have 30 kids in a class period, you may have 5 different classes of kids. That's almost 100 kids a day that you're seeing, that you're impacting. That's not easy. Many children have a lot of learning curves that they have to get over in order to become to the level that all other kids are. Okay, Tammy Strang talks about in her biography, in her article online, she talks about kids with ADHD. Sometimes it's just not easy for them to focus. Sometimes their mind wanders around, and a teacher has to realize and has to be able to grasp their mind back to the learning material, because they're kids just like everybody else, and they deserve to learn and they deserve an education. We have kids with dyslexia, the subject material, but there's not a lot we can do, and we just have to try our hardest to ensure that they're getting everything that they need. Anxiety, okay, test anxiety, anxiety and depression in general. That's a huge problem in the public schools. Anxiety is a mental disorder. You don't have to have a reason to be anxious. You don't have to have a reason to feel depressed, but these kids do. These kids don't want to take the test. They go into it thinking they're gonna fail, and when you go into something thinking you're gonna fail, most likely you're gonna fail. So it's our job as educators to ensure that they have the motivation and the will to do their work so that they can have a better future, okay? And now we're gonna go on to teaching requirements. A lot of people think that teachers just kind of go on and do what they want to do, that they get to be creative and make their own lesson plans, but they don't always get to do that. They have to follow a certain TEKS here in Texas. This means that we have to teach exactly what the state is wanting, so that they can pass their standardized test, which is currently called the STAR. On the TEA website, you're able to find out more about the STAR. You can see what it stands for and some different groups that we have to teach in order to reach the STAR requirements. Okay, so the time that teachers put in, most people just think they have their nice 8-hour workday, they go home and sleep. That is untrue. They do not do that. They have an 8-hour workday, okay? So they come there before the students, and they also leave even after the students go home, okay? They also, most teachers will offer after and before school tutoring. This takes a lot of time, okay? It's not easy for a teacher to wake up when the school starts at 7:30 to get there at 6:30 to ensure that all their kids have the proper learning that they need. Lesson planning, this is a huge one. Like I said earlier, they have to make sure that their entire lesson plan is going to fit in the period, okay? It's a specific amount of time. Here in Tomball ISD that I work in, we have 45 minutes to teach our lesson. So if our lesson plan doesn't fit, we're gonna keep evolving that lesson plan until it does, and that takes a lot of time. Grading papers, okay? English teachers, grading those long papers that people are writing, sometimes not great, but it's part of the job. Math teachers, grading, making sure they're showing their work, and just social studies and science teachers, grading those tests, grading those written work. Entering grades and conduct in. You've got to go back. You've got to look at all of the grades that you've graded. You've got to look at their behavior for each kid you have. And like we went over earlier, could be 100 kids a day. And you're putting in grades and conduct for each and every one of them. And with all of that, they have a 30-minute lunch break, okay? Okay, so teacher salary. So in the Houston area, teacher salary normally starts about $50,000 a year. I found that by using the Tomball ISD website, the Waller ISD website, the Houston ISD website, okay? But that's just in the Houston area. Some teachers in the north, they're making salaries starting at $27,000 a year, okay? That's almost minimum wage. Working $27,000 a year to do everything that we've gone over earlier. That's a huge deal. So their opportunity for a pay increase, if they have a master's degree, they get a whopping $1,000 more a year, okay? If they have ESL training, they can get a stipend for that. If they go to curriculum writing and they go and write things for the state or for the district that all teachers need to follow, they can sometimes make money for that. Maybe a couple extra $1,000 a year for coaching, maybe not. For event management, maybe there's a district event that's going on, and sometimes teachers can make a little bit extra for that, but roughly it stays at about that $50,000 a year, especially starting. So payment versus work. If they're working 8 hours a day, their work year goes to 191 days a year. Learn that at tomballISD.net. If they spend 2 hours a day grading the papers that they had assigned earlier, 1 hour a day entering those grades, 1 hour a day having parent conferences or parent phone calls, 1.5 hours a day for planning, and 0.25 hours a day for weekly meetings, okay? I put that at 0.25, not because the meetings are that short, but because they normally don't happen every day. So that goes to about 2,626 hours a year, okay? That's a lot. And if you divide that by the $50,000, they're making $19 a year, okay? Some of these people with master's degrees are making roughly $19 an hour. I'm sorry, let me correct myself. Okay? So personality traits that a teacher has to have. They have to be patient. They're dealing with all kinds of students, troubled students, students who have grown up in a broken home. It takes patience to sit down, talk to them, help start their motivation. The amount of kids they deal with daily. I mean, 100 kids a day, you've got to be patient. You're gonna have kids screaming. You're gonna have kids complaining. But a patient teacher is going to be okay with that and continue educating the youth. Caring, they have to have a desire to change kids' lives, okay? Like I said with that pay, you're not just going into it for the money, you're going into it because you want to make a difference. Giving time and care for each child, each individual child that you have, you want to make an impact on, you want to make sure that they're getting the education they deserve, and that takes a lot of care and patience. They have to be, your children have better futures, okay? So how are they going to educate your youth so that whenever they grow up, they can get into college, they can get a good grade, they can get a good job, these are the people that are going to make that happen. Being role models for the kids who need them most and keeping eyes for troubled youth, okay? So often kids are going to come in, with all the kids that we see yearly, kids are going to come in and sometimes we get a little worried. Sometimes we have to realize that things may not be great at home, and we're the first line of defense for that. We are role models for the kids who need them, so we're helping mold these kids. We see them as much as some of their parents see them a day, and that's a big deal, okay? And so why would someone want to become a teacher? So I've shouted out a lot of negative stuff, okay? Low pay, bad kids, but you know what? It's one of the most redeeming jobs I think that somebody can have, okay? Watching these kids grow up and coming back to you later and saying, hey, Mr. Pickett, I'm now going to be president of a company. That's my goal. That's what I want to see happen. I want to see my kids become successful, and I want to see my kids love what they do. And I want to be the reason that they got that far, okay? So we're here to encourage kids, and to me, that's one of the most redeeming things that can happen, all right? So thank you all for listening to my presentation today. I hope you enjoyed it, but until next time, guys.